The silence before rescue, the colony was burning. Flames rose high from the shattered buildings as alien bombardment rained from the sky. People huddled in underground shelters, their faces pale with fear. The comm lines crackled with desperate voices calling for help. But there was no reply. They had been waiting for days, praying someone would come. But silence was their only answer. The defenders of the colony fought with whatever weapons they had left. Their ships were old and their numbers too few. Each time they tried to strike back, the alien fleet swarmed them like wolves tearing into weak prey. Captains shouted orders, pilots screamed in their headsets, and explosions lit up the black sky above. Still, they held on, not because they believed they could win, but because they had no choice. On the ground, a young girl clutched her brother's hand in the darkness of the shelter. Her brother whispered that everything would be fine, but his voice trembled. The people around them were silent. Some prayed, others simply stared at the floor. The colony governor stood at the center of the bunker, his eyes full of sorrow. "No help is coming," he whispered to himself. But the people heard, and despair grew heavier. The aliens laughed in their command ships. To them, humanity was a weak race, divided and fragile. Their fleet was vast, thousands of ships, each armed with weapons strong enough to level cities in seconds. They believed the colony would be nothing more than dust before another day passed. Arrogance filled their voices as they sent mocking signals on open channels. "Earthlings, you fight like children with sticks. Surrender, and we may let you live," they taunted. The human commanders ignored the messages. They had no time for words, only for survival. Their ships fired in desperate patterns, trying to slow the enemy advance. But one by one, human ships torn apart, fireballs flashing against the void in the control bunker. Officers watched the losses on the tactical screen. Every red light marked another fallen comrade. And soon the board was nearly covered in red. Hope was breaking. Morale was collapsing. Every soldier knew they could not win, yet they fought on, their hearts heavy, their minds set on buying just a little more time for the civilians hiding below. Then something strange happened. A faint signal appeared on the edge of the long-range scanners. At first it looked like background noise, just a flicker, but the signal grew stronger, pulsing with a rhythm no one could explain. The sensor officer's eyes widened as she adjusted the scope. "Commander, something is entering the system," she whispered, her voice shaking. The human commander frowned. "Is it more of them?" he asked, his chest tightening with dread. The officer shook her head slowly. "I don't know, sir, but it's massive." The room fell silent. Everyone leaned closer to the screens, watching the single dot appear at the farthest edge of the system. The alien fleet noticed it too, their chatter filling the waves with confusion. Another target? Another weakling human ship? They laughed, but some of their voices were uneasy, for the reading was unlike anything they had seen before. Down in the shelters, word spread quickly. People whispered about the signal. Some thought it was more enemies. Others dared to believe it might be help. The little girl in the dark asked her brother, "Is it our ship?" He swallowed hard, unable to answer, but in his heart a small flame of hope lit up. Minutes passed like hours. The unknown object drew closer, moving at a speed that dwarfed anything else in the system. Human sensors strained to read it, but the size kept shifting, the data confused and overwhelming. "It's huge," the officer breathed, "bigger than any ship I've ever seen." Suspense gripped the entire colony. Even the aliens stopped their bombardment for a moment, curious about the arrival. On their command deck, an alien warlord growled, "Let it come. We will crush it too." But deep down he felt a shiver crawl across his skin as the unknown vessel neared. Its silhouette finally appeared through the void, dark, towering, almost like a moving mountain forged from steel. Its hull shimmered with scars of old battles, and its engines burned with silent fury. The human commander whispered, almost in disbelief, "That's a human design," the crew gasped. It was true. The shape, the lines, the markings. This was no alien ship. This was human, but it was nothing like any human warship they had ever seen before. The alien fleet roared with laughter on the channels. "One ship? Is this your savior, Earthlings? One ship against thousands?" Their voices were loud, but behind the laughter was a growing tremor of fear. The civilians in the shelters wept, some with despair, others with sudden hope. The girl clutched her brother tighter, whispering, "It came for us." The massive warship did not fire. It simply drifted forward, silent and watching. Its presence alone felt like a shadow cast across the entire battlefield. The human commander stared at the screens, his heart pounding. Was this a miracle or another cruel trick of fate? Silence filled the void. Silence before the storm. The colony waited, trembling between despair and hope. And then, slowly, the warship powered its weapons. Light began to glow across its hull like a rising star. The battle was about to change. Whispers across the stars. The alien fleet did not move at first. Thousands of ships stood in formation, their weapons glowing with energy. Yet every commander hesitated as the massive human warship drifted into view. It was unlike anything they had seen, larger than their dreadnoughts, darker than the void itself. Its surface shimmered with strange armor, a living metal that reflected no light, too. The aliens, it looked less like a ship and more like a nightmare given form. Inside the human command bunker, tension rose. The officers whispered among themselves, trying to understand where this vessel had come from. No record existed of such a design. No fleet reports mentioned it. The human commander's voice was hoarse as he said, "That ship, it's not supposed to exist." The crew stared, some in awe, some in fear. Could this be a secret project from Earth, a hidden weapon long prepared for desperate times? Or was it something older, something awakened from the forgotten past? The aliens mocked again on open channels, but their laughter sounded forced. "Humans send us a single toy. Do they think one vessel can change fate?" they jeered. Still, their eyes fixed on the colossal silhouette, a shiver moved through their ranks, though none dared admit it. Deep inside the shelters, civilians prayed louder now. The girl who had clutched her brother whispered again, "I told you, it came for us." Her words spread among the frightened crowd. Hope was fragile, but it grew like fire in dry grass. People began to chant, whispering the words, "The Guardian," a name born from desperate hearts. The alien warlord on the command deck slammed his claws against the console. "Enough," he snarled. "Crush it before their hope grows." Orders rang out. Entire squadrons of alien frigates surged forward, engines burning bright. They moved fast like a swarm of steel insects racing toward their prey. All eyes turned to the lone human warship, waiting for its reaction. But the giant did not move. Its weapons hummed, its energy fields rippled, but it held its position in the void, like a predator watching prey rush blindly into its jaws. "Why is it waiting?" the alien subcommanders muttered. Fear grew in their voices, though they masked it with anger. In the human bunker, the commander leaned it forward, whispering, "Come on, do something, show us what you are." His crew sat frozen, their screens locked on the approaching battle. Then it happened. Without warning, the warship lit up with power. From its hull, waves of energy pulsed outward, shaking every sensor across the system. Alien ships lost formation as their scanners scrambled, their systems crashing under the interference. Pilots screamed as their controls flickered. Still, the swarm pressed on, determined to strike before fear consumed them. The warship finally moved. Its engines burned with silent blue fire, propelling the massive beast forward with impossible speed. A single turret rotated, larger than entire alien fighters. It charged with light so bright it painted the battlefield in white. And then, with one thunderous beam, the first alien cruiser vanished, not destroyed, not shattered, simply erased in a blinding instant. Shock rippled through the alien fleet. Their warlord snarled, "It is only one weapon. Overwhelm it." But whispers began to flow across the comms. Pilots muttered of ancient human legends, stories of ships built for wars that should never have existed. One alien officer whispered, "This is no warship, this is a judgment." On the ground, civilians felt the shockwave through the earth as the alien cruiser exploded in the sky. Cheers erupted inside the shelters. Tears rolled down faces. Hope turned into something stronger. Belief. They began to chant louder. "Guardian, Guardian." The girl pressed her hands together and said, "It's protecting us." The alien fleet regrouped, fear crawling in their minds. Their warlord barked new orders, sending heavy dreadnoughts forward. Their cannons charged. Hundreds of beams lanced out toward the human warship. The sky became a storm of fire, yet the warship did not falter. Shields of unknown design flared across its hull, bending the attacks like waves crashing against stone. It advanced slowly, unstoppable. Each step a nightmare to the enemy. In the human bunker, the commander clenched his fists. "It's not fighting for us," he whispered. "It's fighting for something else." His officers stared at him in confusion, but deep inside he felt the same dread the aliens felt. This was not just a savior. It was a monster born of humanity's darkest secrets. Rumors spread like fire across both sides. Aliens spoke of a human ghost fleet, weapons hidden in the void, waiting for their moment. Humans whispered that this was Earth's punishment made real. The truth was unknown. All anyone knew was that despair had turned into whispers of legend, and legend was stronger than fear. The warship slowed its advance. Its cannons rotated toward the alien dreadnoughts. Energy gathered once more, brighter than before. The silence of the void stretched long, suspense crushing every heart, human and alien alike. Then the warship's voice finally echoed across all channels, a deep mechanical tone that shook every soul. "This colony is under our protection," it said. The galaxy would never forget those words. The enemy mocks humanity. The alien fleet staggered after the first strike. Their dreadnoughts, once symbols of dominance, burned like dying stars. Yet pride is a poison, and the warlord's pride was stronger than fear. He rose from his throne, his claws gripping the armrests, his voice echoing across the fleet. "They dare to challenge us with one ship, one human relic, one shadow. We will drown it in fire." His words spread like venom, filling the comms of his soldiers. Mocking laughter followed, desperate laughter, the kind that hides fear. Pilots shouted that humanity's toy was nothing more than smoke and mirrors. Commanders declared they would tear the warship apart and hang its wreckage in orbit. But beneath their voices, unease lingered, whispers they could not silence. Inside the human bunkers, survivors heard the alien taunts over the open frequencies. Pathetic hum. "And you cling to one ship as if it were a god. When we break it, we will break you." The words stung, but something had changed. Instead of despair, the civilians laughed, not out of arrogance, but out of defiance. "Let them talk," an old man whispered. "That ship speaks louder than any words." The warship itself remained silent, its weapons dimmed for the moment, its engines thrumming low, like a beast waiting for prey to come closer. The alien fleet closed in, their formations tightening, rows of battleships, wings of interceptors, all converging on the lone human vessel. "They're mocking us, sir," said one of the human officers in the bunker. The commander's jaw tightened, his eyes never leaving the display. "Let them," he replied. "The louder they laugh, the deeper they will fall." Alien war drums echoed through the void, not real drums, but coded pulses sent across the channels. Each beat a mockery, a reminder of their numbers, thousands of ships, weapons glowing like suns. The galaxy itself seemed to tremble as their armada advanced. The warlord spoke again, broadcasting across all frequencies. "This is the power of the Empire. Look well, humans, for this will be the last sight you ever see. Your guardian is nothing, your hope is nothing, your blood will fuel our conquest." His soldiers roared in approval, yet their eyes betrayed them, darting nervously toward the warship. Then the mocking grew crueler. Alien commanders opened live feeds to the bunkers. Showing the suffering humans, they laughed as children cried, as families huddled together in fear. "Look, humans, your tears will be the rivers we sail upon," they taunted. Rage flared in the hearts of the defenders. Pilots clenched their fists, soldiers screamed for vengeance, but still the warship did not move. It was waiting. The alien fleet, blind in arrogance, could not see it. They mistook silence for weakness, restraint for fear, and so they came closer, tighter, giving up distance for the illusion of control. Mockery turned into overconfidence, and overconfidence was death. The human commander in the bunker leaned forward. He saw the patterns forming on the tactical display, the aliens tightening, closing, making themselves a perfect target. A dangerous smile touched his lips. "They think it is weak," he whispered, "but it is watching, waiting for this very moment." In the shelters, hope grew sharper. The little girl clutched her brother's arm and asked, "Why don't they stop laughing?" Her brother looked at her, eyes wide, and said, "Because they are afraid and fear makes fools loud." The people around them nodded, even in the face of alien mockery, their hearts no longer bent. The alien fleet fired first, a storm of plasma and beams, enough energy to scorch a planet. Their laughter echoed as they unleashed it, believing nothing could withstand such fire. The void turned white with the brightness of destruction. From orbit to ground, all who saw it believed the warship must have been obliterated. But when the light faded, it was still there, untouched, unbroken, its shields glowing with strange rippling waves. The alien warlord's laughter died in his throat. For the first time, silence came from his command deck, and then the warship's voice returned, not a shout, not a roar, but a calm, measured tone that carried across the stars. You speak of conquest, yet you tremble at one ship. You mock humanity, yet humanity still stands. Now, you will see why we endure. The words struck like thunder. Human soldiers roared with renewed fury. Civilians wept with pride. Even the aliens felt the weight of that voice, for the mockery they had thrown into the void now echoed back at them. As a curse, the warship's cannons began to charge again. Light spread across its hull like veins of fire. The battlefield froze. Mockery had ended. The time of judgment had come. The void grew silent. The All-In fleet had fired everything they had, and still the warship stood. Its hull shimmered with strange energy, its shields absorbing the fury of thousands of cannons. Not a scratch, not a crack, only silence. Silence heavier than any roar. Alien commanders stared at their screens. Their laughter was gone, their pride turning into unease. Pilots whispered to each other, their voices shaking. How is it still alive? Nothing can survive that. But the ship was there, glowing like a black star, unbroken, unmoved, unafraid. Inside the human bunker, officers rose to their feet. No one dared to speak, they just watched. The commander's hands trembled on the table, but his eyes shone. He whispered, "It's waiting. It's choosing its target." And his words were true. The warship moved, not fast, not desperate, but slow, deliberate, as if time itself bent around its will. Its cannons rotated with a deep hum, energy flooding into their cores. Light crawled along the hull like rivers of fire. The battlefield froze, every ship, human and alien, watching in terror and awe. The alien warlord snarled, forcing his voice across the channels. "It's bluffing. One ship cannot end us. Attack again." But even his soldiers did not believe him, their eyes wide, their claws shaking on the controls. Fear spread faster than orders. The warship fired. A single blast. But it was no ordinary weapon. The beam ripped through the void, tearing space itself into light. One alien dreadnought, the pride of the fleet, vanished in an instant. No wreckage, no debris, just a hole of silence where it once stood. Gasps filled the human bunkers. Cheers burst from the shelters. Civilians cried out with joy, their voices echoing underground. It destroyed them. It destroyed their giant ship. The little girl laughed through her tears, clutching her brother. "The Guardian is real," she whispered. Hope turned into fire in their hearts, but the warship did not stop. Its weapons charged again, faster this time. 2 more dreadnoughts fell, their hulks shattered into fragments. Alien fleets scrambled, breaking formation, chaos erupting. Their commanders shouted orders, but fear drowned discipline. Retreat, regroup, hold formation. Voices clashed in panic, but the warship advanced. It did not rush. It did not chase. It moved like a predator that knew the prey could not escape. Each step forward was a death sentence for another enemy ship. The alien warlord roared in fury. "Throw everything at it, drown it in blood." His fleet obeyed. Thousands of fighters broke off and swarmed the warship. They darted between its shields, firing endlessly. But its armor drank their fire. Its guns swatted them like flies. Hundreds of alien fighters exploded in seconds, lighting the sky with burning trails. Inside the shelters, humans held their breath. They had never seen such destruction, never seen one ship fight like an army. An old soldier whispered, "That is no ship, that is a weapon forged for gods." The people around him nodded, their despair turning into reverence. The aliens, desperate, unleashed their superweapon. A colossal beam fired from their flagship, its glow brighter than a sun, cutting across the void. It struck the warship's shields. The colony shook as energy waves thundered across the land. For a moment, it seemed even the Guardian would break. But then the light cleared, and the warship was still there, scarred, glowing, but alive. Its engines roared louder, its cannons pulsed brighter. The human commander in the bunker clenched his fists. "Now," he whispered, as if his words were an echo of the warship's will. And then the ship unleashed its fury. A storm of beams erupted, not one, not two, but dozens firing in all directions. Alien cruisers exploded like fireworks. Dreadnoughts split apart like paper. The The battlefield became a grave. Yard of burning wreckage, alien pilots screamed as their wings were torn apart. Their warlord's voice cracked as he shouted, "Hold the line! Hold the line!" But there was no line left to hold. The warship's voice boomed again, cold, calm, merciless. "Your time is over." Those words carried across the stars, into every alien heart, into every human ear, and no one doubted them. The first strike was over, but it was only the beginning. The battle escalates. The battlefield was chaos. Alien wreckage drifted in burning trails, broken hulls tumbling into the void. But even as the first wave was destroyed, the enemy was far from defeated. Their numbers were still overwhelming, and arrogance turned into desperation. Desperation turned into rage. The alien warlord stood tall on his command deck, his voice filled with venom. "Enough! This human abomination will not decide the fate of my empire. All ships converge, unleash every weapon. Sacrifice your lives if you must. Bring it down, drown it in fire." Orders echoed across the armada. Thousands of ships turned their weapons toward the lone warship. Missiles, plasma, beams, and torpedoes filled the void like a storm of suns. The sky itself seemed to burn as the armada unleashed everything it had. The warship was swallowed in the blaze. Its silhouette vanished beneath the storm. In the human bunker, despair returned for a heartbeat. Officers gasped as sensors spiked. One whispered, "Nothing can survive that." But the commander shook his head, his eyes locked on the screen. "Wait," he muttered. "Wait and see." The storm faded, and once again the warship emerged, scorched, glowing, but alive. Its shields rippled like liquid fire, bending the laws of physics. Its hull shimmered with scars that healed as quickly as they appeared, as if the ship itself refused to die. The alien fleet froze. Pilots screamed in disbelief. Commanders shouted over each other, "It's impossible. It should be gone." But the nightmare ship pressed forward, its engines flared, its weapons pulsed, and the void trembled with its advance. The warship fired again. Its cannons unleashed waves of destruction, each beam slicing through multiple enemy ships at once. Squadrons of fighters evaporated in white light. Cruisers broke apart in fiery blossoms. Dreadnoughts cracked open like eggshells, spilling flames into the dark. Yet the aliens did not retreat. Their pride chained them to the battlefield. They rushed forward, wave after wave, trying to swarm the warship, to overwhelm it with sheer numbers. Fighters darted close, diving between its shields. Bombers tried to breach its armor. Boarding pods launched, desperate to land on its hull. Inside the human shelters, civilians held each other tightly. They watched the distant flashes of battle through cracks in the ground above. Every explosion lit their faces with terror and awe. The little girl whispered, "They can't stop it." Her brother nodded, his voice steady for the first time. "No one can stop it." But the warship was not invincible. Alien fire finally landed blows. Its shields flickered, its armor groaned. Giant gashes tore across its surface, fires spilling into the void. For a moment, the predator bled, and the aliens howled in triumph. "See," the warlord roared. "It bleeds, it can die. Press the attack, tear it apart for the Empire." His soldiers answered with fury. Their swarm pressed harder, closer, hungrier. In the human bunker, alarms blared. The commander gripped the table. "It's holding, but just barely," he said. Fear clawed at his chest. If the warship fell, everything fell. The colony, humanity, hope itself. Then the warship revealed something new. Hidden weapons awakened from its hull. Panels shifted. Glowing ports opened, and from those ports, lances of pure energy shot outward in all directions. Not beams, not missiles, but arcs of lightning that leapt from ship to ship. Alien fleets screamed among. His entire squadrons were fried in seconds, their vessels torn apart by burning chains of energy that spread like a storm. The battlefield lit up brighter than any sun. Wreckage spun into firestorms. Alien pilots lost control, crashing into each other. Commanders howled as their fleets broke under the unseen power. The warlord's eyes widened, his claws shaking. "What is this weapon?" he hissed. No one answered, for none could understand what they faced. To the aliens, it was no longer a warship. It was a monster wearing human steel. Yet the warship still fought alone. For every alien ship it destroyed, more came. Its armor cracked deeper, its shields flared weaker, and though it stood, it was bleeding more with every minute. In the shelters, silence filled the air. People felt the tremors of the battle through the ground. Their hearts raced as they prayed. Would the Guardian endure? or would the swarm finally drown it? Suspense tightened like a noose across the system. The warship fought on, alone against thousands, a single flame against the storm, and still, it did not break. The battle had escalated, and both sides knew this was no longer just a fight for a colony, this was a fight for the future. The void burned with wreckage, alien ships drifted like broken bones across the stars, but the swarm was endless. For every wave that fell, another rose, and the human warship, though mighty, began to bleed. Its shields flickered, its armor cracked with glowing scars. Fires burned along its vast hull. Great engines coughed and sputtered, and inside, its crew fought not only the enemy, but the ship itself. Systems screamed with overload. Alarms howled through every deck, yet the vessel pressed on, refusing to fall. The alien warlord saw the wounds, his eyes glowed with cruel triumph. "Look at it," he roared. "The beast bleeds, the beast can be slain. Press harder, break its bones, drown it in fire." His armada answered with fury. Thousands of cannons unleashed another storm. Fighters swarmed tighter. Bombers dove close, boarding pods. As streaked toward the warship like arrows in the human bunker, officers shouted in panic, "They're breaching, they're boarding." The commander's face turned pale. If the aliens landed inside, the Guardian would be torn apart from within. Their only hope was fading. Deep in the shelters, civilians trembled. The little girl cried, clutching her brother. "They're hurting it," she whispered. Her brother's fists clenched, his eyes wet with rage. "It won't fall," he said, though his voice cracked. The first alien boarding pods slammed into the warship's hull. Their claws dug deep, cutting open breaches. Dark figures poured inside, armored, armed, hungry for slaughter. They stormed the corridors, howling in triumph, expecting panic, expecting weakness. But what they found was fire. The crew of the warship met them head-on, not soldiers in glittering armor, but men and women with eyes like steel, their weapons old, their numbers few, but they fought like demons. Their blood stained the decks, their screams shook the walls, every corridor became a grave. The aliens laughed no more, for every step they gained was paid with rivers of their dead. In the command core, the captain stood tall, his uniform torn, his face smeared with ash, his voice calm as the ship trembled around him. "We hold, no matter the cost. This ship does not fall while a single one of us breathes." And his crew roared back, "Aye, Captain." Alien ships outside struck harder. Massive dreadnoughts hurled suns of plasma into the Guardian's shields. The hull cracked wider. Fires spread like rivers of blood. Inside, bulkheads collapsed. Air was lost. And still, the crew fought, sealing breaches with their own bodies if they had to. Their sacrifice fed the warship's will. Then, for the first time, the Guardian faltered. One of its main cannons fell silent, its glow fading, its barrels shattered from the straw. The alien fleet howled in victory. Their warlord grinned with cruel teeth. "See, it is breaking, it will die. Humanity will die with it." But the captain only whispered, "Not today." With shaking hands, he activated a hidden command. Panels across the warship shifted. Ancient systems awoke. Weapons unseen until now pulsed with terrible light. Deep in the core, a forbidden engine roared to life. One the galaxy had long believed to be myth. The crew knew what it meant. To unleash it was to risk everything, but none hesitated. They had already given their blood, their breath, their lives. What was left to fear? The alien boarding parties felt it first. The walls shook. The decks burned with sudden fire. Energy surged through the ship like a living storm. They screamed as lightning crawled across the corridors. Their armor cracked, their weapons fried. They fell one by one, consumed by the ship's wrath. Outside, the Guardian's hull lit brighter than a star. Every wounded bore now glowed like molten scars. Its engines flared with fury, and its voice, deep and merciless, echoed once more. "You wanted fire," it said, "then burn." The hidden weapons unleashed. Arcs of energy lashed across the battlefield, not beams, not missiles, but pure destruction. Alien fleets tore apart in seconds. Dreadnoughts split in half. Fighters vaporized. Cruisers exploded like dying suns. The void became a sea of flames, but the power came with a price. Inside, the crew screamed as the ship shook itself apart. Panels burst. Fires consumed chambers. Every soul aboard knew they might not survive, but none faltered. They had chosen sacrifice. They had chosen to burn if it meant humanity would rise. In the shelters, humans saw the sky light up with impossible brilliance. They cried, they screamed, they prayed. Some wept with fear, others with pride. The little girl whispered, "It gave everything for us." And her brother answered, his voice steady, "No, it is still fighting." The Guardian stood in the fire it had unleashed, scarred, broken, bleeding, but alive, and the Ali, in fleet, once arrogant, once mocking, now trembled in silence. Sacrifice had turned into fire, and fire had turned into legend. The void was fire, wreckage spun like burning stars, alien ships crumbled into dust, and through it all, the Guardian stood, scarred, broken, but alive. The alien warlord stared at the battlefield, his pride shattered, his fleet in ruins, his voice shook with rage and fear. "No, no, this cannot be. It is only one ship, only one." Yet his words meant nothing now, for his soldiers no longer listened, their comms filled with panic, pilots screamed for retreat, commanders begged for orders, but there was no order that could save them. The Guardian's hidden weapons still burned. Arcs of lightning leapt across the battlefield, shattering formation after formation. The alien swarm that had once drowned the stars now scattered like frightened insects, their unity gone, their pride destroyed. Inside the warship, chaos reigned. The crew fought fires with bare hands. Many lay broken across the decks, yet none abandoned their posts. Every soul clung to their duty. Their captain stood at the heart of it all, his body weak, his voice steady. "Hold, just hold," he whispered, and they did. In the shelters, the humans watched the sky. They saw the alien fleet collapse. They saw hope transform into victory. Their voices rose. Cheers thundered through the bunkers. People hugged, wept, prayed. The little girl whispered through her tears, "We are saved." And her brother, staring upward with wide eyes, said, "No, we are not just saved. We are remembered." The alien warlord roared one final order. "Fall back, retreat, all ships retreat." His voice cracked with shame. Never before had his empire run from humans. Never before had fear driven them, but now it did. Their ships turned, fleeing into the void, leaving behind the broken bones of their pride. The battle. Field fell silent. Only wreckage drifted. Only fire burned, and at the center of it all was the Guardian, its engines dim, its cannons cooling, a wounded beast that had slain an army. In the human bunker, silence held for a long moment, then cheers erupted like thunder. Officers cried, soldiers embraced. The commander sank into his chair, his body trembling, but in his eyes was light. "They will speak of this day," he said softly. "They will never forget." Messages spread across the galaxy. Word of the battle flew faster than ships. Whispers turned into stories. Stories turned into legend. They spoke of the day when humanity stood against thousands with only one ship. They spoke of the Guardian, Earth's deadliest warship. They spoke of how despair became fire and fire became hope. The aliens tried to silence the tale. They called it a lie. They erased records, executed witnesses. But truth has a way of living, and the truth was carried in the hearts of every survivor. The story could not be killed. It lived, it spread, it grew. In the shelters, the little girl slept in her brother's arms, dreaming of the Guardian. In the bunker, the commander looked to the stars, his mind heavy with questions. Where had the ship come from? Who had built it? And if Earth had one such ship, how many more waited in the dark? The Guardian itself drifted silently, its hull torn, its engines flickering. But before it left, its voice echoed one last time across every channel, deep, calm, eternal, humanity endures. Those words were carved into memory, into history, into legend. Generations would speak them, armies would fear them, empires would tremble at them. The warship vanished into the black, whether to rest, to repair, or to wait for another war, none knew. But its shadow remained, a shadow across the galaxy, a reminder that despair could be broken, a reminder that hope could burn brighter than any star. The humans of the colony looked to the sky. Their tears fell not in sorrow but in pride. They had seen the impossible, they had lived the legend, and from that day, whenever the galaxy mocked humanity, they remembered the Guardian and they whispered, "Beware, for Earth is never truly weak."